discovered a band that absolutely blew your mind, only to wonder years later where they disappeared to? Have you ever found yourself humming a 90s tune but couldn't remember who sang it? Are you curious about which incredible 90s bands deserved way more recognition than they got? The 90s music scene was a goldmine of talent that went far beyond the household names we still celebrate today. For every Nirvana or Red Hot Chili Peppers that dominated the decade, dozens of phenomenal bands created groundbreaking music, but somehow faded into obscurity. Today, we're diving deep into the archives to uncover 10 forgotten 90s bands whose music deserves another listen. From one-hit wonders to critical darlings who never quite broke through, these bands helped shape the sound of a generation before, mysteriously vanishing from our collective memory. So grab your headphones and prepare for a nostalgic journey through the hidden gems of 90s. Alternative, rock, and pop. Band number 1, Head Candy. Before grunge took over the airwaves completely, there was Head Candy, a Boston-based quartet that perfectly straddled the line between college rock and the emerging alternative scene. Their 1992 album, Starcaster, featured the hauntingly beautiful single Underwater Lens, which briefly charted before disappearing entirely. What made Head Candy special was lead vocalist Sarah Linden's ethereal voice paired with surprisingly heavy guitar work from Tom Fraser. The band had everything needed for mainstream success: catchy hooks, a distinctive sound, and a photogenic frontwoman. Yet after their sophomore album's lukewarm reception, they disbanded in 1995. Listen to Underwater Lens today, and you'll wonder how this band slipped through the cracks, while sonically similar acts like the Cranberries reached stratospheric heights. Band number 2, Velocity Girl, transitioning from Boston to the nearby Washington, D.C. scene. Velocity Girl emerged as darlings of the indie pop movement. Blending shimmering guitars with pop sensibilities, this quintet released 3 stellar albums on Sub Pop Records, when the label was primarily known for its grunge roster. Their 1993 single, Audrey's Eyes, briefly cracked alternative radio rotations with its blissful melody and driving rhythm section. What's fascinating about Velocity Girl is how they managed to sound both quintessentially 90s and completely timeless. Their influence on later indie pop bands is undeniable, yet most music fans under 40 have likely never heard their name. The band dissolved in 1996, just as their sound was beginning to gain wider appreciation. Band number 3, Jellyfish, moving westward to San Francisco. Jellyfish stands as perhaps the most criminally underrated band of the decade. In just 2 albums, 1990's Belly Button and 1993's Spilt Milk, this power pop quartet created a perfect fusion of Queen's theatrical bombast, Beach Boys' harmonies, and XTC's quirky songcraft. Their single, The King is Half Undressed, showcased their ability to pack complex arrangements and vocal harmonies into radio-friendly packages. Dressed in colorful vintage clothes and sporting Beatles-esque haircuts, Jellyfish seemed out of step with the flannel-wearing grunge movement dominating MTV. However, their intricate compositions and exceptional musicianship have made them cult heroes among musicians, with their 2 albums now considered power pop masterpieces. The band's influence far exceeds their commercial success, with members later contributing to projects by Beck, Air, and Slash's Snake Pit. Band number 4, Luscious Jackson. Shifting from the West Coast back east to New York City, Luscious Jackson brought a fresh female perspective to alternative rock by blending hip-hop beats, funk bass lines, and indie rock sensibilities. Discovered by the Beastie Boys, who signed them to their Grand Royal label, Luscious Jackson hit their commercial peak with the infectious 1996 single Naked Eye. Their unique sound incorporated elements of trip-hop and dance music before either became mainstream in America. Despite opening for REM and releasing 4 solid albums, Luscious Jackson never quite achieved the recognition their innovation deserved. Their genre-defying approach predated the cross-pollination of styles, that would become standard in the 2000s, making them true pioneers who never got their due. Band number 5, That Dog, traveling back to the West Coast, Los Angeles-based quartet. That Dog combined classical string arrangements with punk rock energy to create something entirely unique. Featuring Anna Waronker, daughter of record executive Lenny Waronker, and sisters Petra and Rachel Hayden, daughters of jazz legend Charlie Hayden, the band had impressive musical pedigree. Their 1997 album, Retreat from the Sun, produced the should-have-been hit Never Say Never, which balanced sweet violin arrangements with crunchy guitars and irresistible vocal harmonies. That Dog's sophisticated approach to alternative rock influenced countless indie bands that followed, yet they remain largely unknown outside music nerd circles. After 3 critically acclaimed albums, they disbanded just as they were perfecting their sound, leaving behind a small but impeccable discography. Band number 6, Failure Staying in Los Angeles.
The world will die alone. The frail will fall below.
Failure created some of the most sonically innovative rock music of the 90s while remaining perpetually under the radar. Their 1996 masterpiece, Fantastic Planet, blended space rock, grunge, and shoegaze into a cohesive sound that was both heavy and dreamy. The single, Stuck on You, briefly charted, but their true legacy lies in how bands like Tool and A Perfect Circle have cited them as major influences. Their innovative recording techniques and layered guitar sounds were years ahead of their time. After breaking up in 1997 due to personal struggles and label issues, their reputation grew steadily among musicians and producers, eventually leading to a well-received reunion in 2014. Failure's story represents the classic case of a band being too forward-thinking for commercial success in their own era. Band number 7, The Sundays Crossing the Atlantic to England. The Sundays created some of the most beautifully melancholic guitar pop of the early 90s. Harriet Wheeler's angelic vocals floated above David Gavurin's intricate guitar work, creating a sound that was both ethereal and accessible. Their 1990 debut, Reading, Writing, and Arithmetic, is considered a classic of the era, with singles like Here's Where the Story Ends, perfectly capturing youthful melancholy. After releasing just 3 albums before quietly disappearing, the Sundays never officially broke up, but simply stopped making music together after 1997. Their influence can be heard in countless indie bands since, from Belle and Sebastian to Alves, yet they remain largely forgotten by mainstream music history despite their brief chart success. Band number 8, Fig Dish. Heading to Chicago, Fig Dish emerged from the city's vibrant 90s rock scene.
This feeling, but it sticks somehow.
But never achieved the recognition of contemporaries like Smashing Pumpkins or Urge Overkill. Their 1995 album, That's What Love, Songs Often Do, delivered power pop gems like Seeds that combined punchy guitars with memorable hooks and sardonic lyrics. What made Fig Dish special was their ability to write songs that were simultaneously anthemic and intimate, perfect for both college radio and stadium sing-alongs. Unfortunately, they arrived just as post-grunge was dominating rock radio, and their more nuanced approach got lost in the shuffle. After being dropped by their label, they disbanded in 1998, leaving behind 2 excellent albums that still sound remarkably fresh today. Band number 9, Wagon. Moving down the California coast to Santa Barbara.
Hello, welcome to the show. Thought we broke up years ago.
Wagon helped pioneer the melodic punk sound that would later influence bands like Blink-182 and Sum 41. Their 1995 album, Hoss, is considered a pop-punk classic, balancing technical proficiency with catchy hooks and thoughtful lyrics that went beyond typical punk topics. Unlike many bands on this list, Wagon never officially broke up, continuing to record and tour to a dedicated fan base. But they never crossed over to mainstream success despite their significant influence on the pop-punk explosion of the late 90s and early 2000s. What's remarkable about Wagon is how they maintained their artistic integrity, while many of their more commercially successful followers diluted the punk elements of their sound. Band number 10, Letters to Cleo. Returning to Boston where we began,
To get and keep getting, never enough, not enough, and never ending. I just thought.
Letters to Cleo capped the 90s with their infectious blend of power pop and alternative rock, fronted by the charismatic Kay Hanley. Their 1993 hit Here and Now briefly broke through to mainstream consciousness, but the band had much more to offer than this lone hit suggests. Their albums showcased impressive musicianship and songwriting that balanced punk energy with pop accessibility. Despite appearances on the Melrose Place soundtrack and later in the cult film 10 Things I Hate About You, Letters to Cleo never quite achieved the fame their catchy songs deserved. After disbanding in 2000, they achieved a sort of retroactive fame when Hanley provided the singing voice for Josie in the 2001 film Josie and the Pussycats, introducing her distinctive vocals to a new generation who often didn't know her original band. The 90s music landscape was incredibly diverse, and for every band that reached iconic status, many equally talented groups faded into obscurity. These 10 bands represent just a fraction of the forgotten treasures waiting to be rediscovered by new listeners. Each brought something unique to their respective genres, pushing boundaries and influencing countless artists who followed them. The next time you find yourself in a 90s nostalgia spiral, look beyond the obvious hits and dig into these overlooked gems. Your playlist will thank you. If you enjoyed this musical archaeology expedition, hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you won't miss our next deep dive into forgotten musical treasures. Leave a comment below with your favorite forgotten 90s band that deserves more recognition. Maybe we'll feature them in our next video. Until then, keep those headphones on and your musical horizons wide open.